Johnny, it's here, man. I am so amped about this schedule for the Houston Texans. Our Houston Texans 2024, 6, the only game in town games.
Oh, I like the way you put that.
It's
Yeah,
the only
yeah,
game
yeah.
in town.
It's a good way to put it.
It's
Yeah.
it's not after 7 p.m.
Mhm.
So it's not technically a prime time, but it's a prime time game.
Right.
Only game in town. Christmas Day. I think, everybody's healthy. This is a lot different Christmas Day than the one in 2017.
Oh gosh.
You know?
Oh man.
I can't wait. What struck me, and I want to get this from you in a second, but the first thing that leaped out to me when I saw this schedule, 3 primetime
Yeah.
games in a row late in the season. I know that's never happened in Texans history. That's kind of rare for any team, but that was a big deal to me. And then kind of 2A, because that was 1A plus. 2A was, well, that's a late buy, and I like that late buy in December. I'll take that every day of the week. Really fun schedule. It's gonna be hard, but every schedule in the NFL is hard. Those are the two things that jumped out at me. What jumped out at you first?
Well, you're right. Immediately, the primetime games in a row, and all on a different day.
Yeah,
Jets Thursday, then you get Sunday Night Lions, and you get extra day for the Cowboys. So those 3, of course, primetime games in a row. And then, Christmas Day stood out for sure. But when I went back and I'm like, okay, let's look at a number of things here. First of all, when you play these rookie quarterbacks, because you got a bunch of them on the schedule, you got at least 3. Well, you're facing those 3 pretty early. And there's the thought that maybe now Caleb Williams, I would imagine, unless he's injured, you'd see him for sure. Don't know about Drake May and J.J. McCarthy because of how early we're playing those teams. But if you don't, you're facing Sam Darnold in Minnesota and you're facing Jacoby Brissett in New England. Now, Jacoby Brissett in New England has always been a bugaboo. Jacoby Brissett and Gillette Stadium have always been a problem for the Texans. We've only beaten one of those 2 entities once. Jacoby Brissett, we beat him on Thursday Night Football in 2019. That's it. Other than that,
when he was a Colt,
yeah, he's owned us in every other uniform he's been in, and Gillette Stadium has owned us. So I kind of hope it's Drake May in some sense, but I also looked for that. And I looked at the start of the schedule, and of course, me as a sideline reporter, I want to know, like, okay, what's our weather situation? Well, you start off at Indianapolis, inside. Then Chicago, inside. Then you go to Minnesota, inside. Then you come back for 2 at home, Bills, Jaguars, inside.
Yeah, your first road game outside is week 6 at New England.
Right.
And average high temperature of 64 degrees.
Right. And then you get Green Bay the week after that, which is the first time that we're going to Green Bay.
Not in December.
So you've got all that working for you. If you go back to the 2 preseason games, the last 2 preseason games are here. So home, bye week. So inside, bye week. Inside for 5 straight games. So after the Steelers preseason game, you don't go back outside to play a game until you go to New England and Green Bay for those 2. So you have 9 of your first 13 games inside because you've got Minnesota, Indianapolis, and Dallas all in those first 13 games. So from a weather perspective, look, Tennessee in the finale.
That could be chilly bones, man.
We were there. We've been there. It was rough.
Arctic.
It was rough.
Cold. Yeah.
And in Kansas City on December 21st can be pretty tough as well. But there's something about in December, I can handle the cold. The rain and the wind get to be too much. I mean, 2021 was just an abomination. I mean, it was 4 games on the road and we just got downpours in all of them, which I guess was sort of emblematic of that particular season.
Indeed.
So I look at those kind of things, but then you start looking at how it starts, how the schedule starts off. Okay, it's at Indy. All right. But then Chicago at home. Then you go to Minnesota, again, rookie quarterback in Chicago. Then you go after Minnesota, you come back home for those 2. And you got Jacksonville, and then you got the Bills. And, in the Bills, you're going to break out those H-Town unis. And I guarantee you, with all the hype there's been about those H-Town unis and how cool they look, this team is not going to go out there and lay an egg that day, at least you hope. So you hope you can get off to a pretty good start. Then you got New England, and New England's not thought to be pretty good, but you've never won at Gillette. But what if you win that? Then you go to Green Bay and, take them on at noon, see what they've got. Maybe you start off really, really well such that you can kind of ride the wave, not saying you win all 3 primetime games, but you go to battle in those 3 primetime games and come out of there maybe 2-1, which would be nice. But you survive that, and then you finish up the first 13 weeks with, I think, Jacksonville and Tennessee. I think that's right. So you can come out of there, those first 13 feeling pretty good about what you've got. Now, so it's a big matzo ball, but I think you can get off to a good start, and getting off to a good start is typically meant this team can really find its groove. So hopefully that's the case. Hopefully I'm right about that, because if they get off to a good start, they need to get off to a good start, because if they've got to chase after the bye, Dolphins, Chiefs, Ravens, ooh, wow. Now, 2 of those 3 are at home. And so, okay, but let's see what we got. But that's going to be tough. So you've got to be in a pretty good spot coming out of that bye, such that those 4 end up being like mini playoff games. It's just you got to play so many of them in short span. It's kind of tough.
Now, many of you listening to this, I'm sure Dave, what's up?
What's up,
listening
Dave?
to this, know that because the NFL plays 17 games, Texans are playing the Cowboys. But one of my best friends, who's a pretty big sports fan, he said, hey, how come the Texans are playing the Cowboys? Because they've got all these NFC North teams. What's the deal there?
Yeah.
So just as a friendly reminder, when the schedule went to 17 games a few years back, the NFL added in an opponent from another conference, and it lines up with a division. So the AFC South this year is playing the NFC East this year. So the winner of the NFC East, the Cowboys, plays the winner of the AFC South from last year, the Texans.
Yep.
Second place versus second place.
Right.
Last place versus last place. Last year, the AFC South played the NFC West. So Texans played against the Cardinals last year because of that. So that's the reasoning behind that.
So that's how they added that game. And it's similar to what happens with your AFC schedule. Our AFC division that we match up with is the AFC East. But we're still going to play one team from the AFC North and one team from the AFC West.
Yep.
And where we finished first place, that means we play first place, Bills, first place. So when you hear first place schedule, that's what it means. So what it did was, instead of us facing last place teams like last year, the Broncos, the Cardinals, the Jets, we end up facing first place teams, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Cowboys.
And on paper, hey, that's the harder schedule, but it's a new year, man.
Yeah, totally.
Change.
Totally.
Some of these teams that are at the tippy top, they might backslide. They might not be as good as they were last year. Same could be true of some of these teams that we think are going to stink, like the Titans or the Patriots. They might wind up, you never know. It's the beauty of the NFL. So Texans are just going to play the game in front of them, try and win, and do all that. And another thing to add on to this Cowboys game, Texans are undefeated against the Cowboys in prime time, 2-0.
That's right.
2002, they won the franchise opener here at LG Stadium. 2018, they went to overtime and beat the Cowboys.
Hop spins. Hop is still spinning.
Yeah, and then they're playing them in primetime. Monday Night Football. A lot of folks thought it was going to be the Thanksgiving matchup. It's not. No problem. I'm fine with that. Get to stay home on Thanksgiving Day.
Yep.
Eat some good stuff. But Texans going to play them on Monday Night Football. As far as rest and short week games, there's not too many of them on Texans could have gotten hosed in that regard, but it's sort of set up that they get some breaks in there. I don't see rest truly being a big issue or a big bugaboo. Do you see that when you look at this schedule?
One thing,
it's not perfect. It's not a noon game like last season until week 18, but it could be worse. And I don't think it got as worse as bad as it could have been, is what my point is.
I think where it gets dicey, the short weeks, you've got two, I'm going to say Thursday games in air quotes. So if you're just listening, I'm putting up the air quotes. You're watching, you're seeing me do it. Because
Saturday and
you've got Saturday to Wednesday and Sunday to Thursday. So you have two of those. Now, I think it was Mike Florio pointed this out. There are 9 teams in the NFL that have 2 or more. I don't think it was more. I think it was just 2 short weeks like that. The Texans are one of those 9. And you could look at it any number of ways. Like, every game was at noon last year. Okay. How sexy is that? Well, we're playing in Halloween in New York against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. And then we're playing on Christmas, one of the 2 games that's on Netflix. And I think that's pretty cool. So they're spaced out, and one of them comes just a couple weeks after your bye. So look, and the bye comes in week 14. Now there are 6 teams in the NFL that have that bye, including all of them that are playing that little mishmash. There are 4 teams: the Ravens, Steelers, Texans, Chiefs. Those 4, it's not quite round robin, but it's kind of a little round robin amongst themselves.
Basically, yeah.
They all got the week 14 bye, which, because late in the season, you're getting that late bye because you're going to play in those Christmas games. So you kind of get that bye and then play a game. And then you get that mishmash of 2 games in 5 days. So I don't know how much that bye will help at that point, just because everybody's so beat up. But I see what the NFL was doing. Like, hey, we're asking you guys to do this a second time, essentially, and to do this whole Christmas thing. And so we're going to give you this late bye, and that hopefully will give you some rest then. And then you'll get some rest after you play those 2 games going into the finale. So I see what the NFL is trying to do there. And I think what that's leading towards, to me, is this is 18 games. This is kind of how you can, finagle us into 18 games.
And let's do this. And once you get to 18 games, let's have 2 bye weeks per team. And
I think that's what they're going to find out.
Ultimately, let's nuke the sports month of February. It's the worst month of the year. Let's nuke it. Let's just get right into March in college basketball. That way we don't have anything boring to watch on the weekends in the month of February.
Cool. I agree. I think that's what we're going to get to. It's going to happen. I think you're going to have to start on Labor Day, get on into middle of February. I mean, I don't know.
Football, it's tremendous.
Well,
and I know you're not disagreeing. I'm just
here's one of the things I found out last night, and I knew it was going to be close. I wasn't totally sure. When the Texans kick off that game against the Chiefs on Saturday the 21st, that's going to be a 1 Eastern game, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be 3 college football playoff games going on at the same time, first round playoff games. So they're all on campus games, which, is good, the new playoff with 12 teams. And people were complaining, like, I'm frustrated because I won't be able to see the college games because we're working. But that said, I'll be able to catch up on it the next day as we start getting ready for the Ravens. But that's a football smorgasbord.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know on YouTube TV, I can now split it into 4 different screens. I get everything. I get all of them. So I get it, and I understand it. College football, they're going to steal from, look, it's a college football playoff game. There are going to be plenty of people watching that. There are going to be plenty of people watching the Texans. There are going to be plenty of people watching them all at the same time.
Plenty of people watching HGTV, too, that just don't give a crap about football.
And as they used to say, there are probably 100 million people in China that don't give a damn.
Exactly. But we give a damn.
We do.
The Houston Texans, and we're excited, man. I mean, we're excited no matter what, but it's one of the biggest days. It's like a game day. It's like the draft. It's a big day. The schedule release, and it's out. You wrote a fantastic article. It's by the numbers. I love it. There's a lot of cool. John just spouted off a few of the stuff that he wrote about in that column, but there's a lot more. So go check that out. There's so much on HoustonTexans.com and the Houston Texans mobile app, as you already know, because you listen to this, and we appreciate you simple listener, checking this out and watching this on YouTube. Make sure, if you're on YouTube, or if you're not on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Houston Texans YouTube channel, so you get that stuff updated like this and like that and like this, and it'll be even better. And no, I'm not going through puberty. My voice is cracking and is old. I've coached 2 primetime playoff baseball games.
There you go.
8U. And
there you go.
Bees are playing for the title on Saturday morning. We're excited.
Let's go Bees.
Let's go Bees.
Let's go Bees. Buzz them, baby.
All right. John, always good to be with you, my friend. And it's always good of you to check us out here on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, HoustonTexans.com, the Houston Texans mobile app. We do it for you. And if we didn't have you, we wouldn't be able to do it. This is In the Lab.